Welcome back, I'm Mr. R, and this is the Rondinelli Project. This is session number 7, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how I paint the eyes for a black crappie replica. Now, the eyes for my fish replicas are painted on pure acrylic blanks. I do not buy pre-painted eyes. For some viewers, this might seem intimidating, but like this tutorial, it's a process, and you can learn the process. Give it a try. You will be amazed with the results. Take a look. Left eye, right eye. So let's paint them. First thing I do is take a white piece of paper and I tape it down. Then I take a piece of tape and I double fold it back on itself so the sticky side is up. And I take my eye blank. I'm going to start with the right eye. Here's the blank, and I'll stick it to the tape. It holds it in place so the airbrush doesn't push it around. And that's what it looks like. Crystal clear acrylic, no pigment. First thing I do is take a Micron 005 archival ink pen. And this has a 0.20 millimeter line. It's just a real fine point. What you need to do is draw the pupil in, which is black. It's kind of triangular shaped. Not all pupils of fish are triangular. Some are round. You just have to look at your source. This just takes a little practice, but you have to do this all at once. You don't want it to dry because you'll just lift the paint back up. Once it's done, that's your pupil. I'm going to use pearl satin gold because we have to create that gold ring. In this case, the crappie has a gold ring around the outside of the pupil. And here is the brush that I use to do that. Very fine brush. And I take some of that paint and I start inside of the pupil, and you want to make sure that that's good and dry. And then I'm taking the gold paint and I'm pushing it out from the center to the edge. Trying to paint a fine line around that's really hard to do because you're working on the inside, you're not working on the outside. And I'm taking the paint and pushing it near the edge so that it just barely goes outside of the black pupil. And you have to think in reverse. It's what you're seeing on the outside of the eye, not what you're seeing on the inside. And you build your colors up that way. And that's what I'm doing in this particular process here. Once I finish the gold ring around the outside of the pupil, I'm going to switch to my airbrush to lay in the details of the black crappie eye. I'm going to use opaque black. I'm going to mist the vertical bars, top and bottom of the eye back towards the center, towards the gold ring. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute here. I'll lift that back up, turn it over, and I'll show that when I'm done so you can at least see the marking. This is the first step. And this takes a little bit of practice, low pressure on your airbrush. And little paint spatters are okay because that's what you'll see those in the eye color. This is pearl copper. I'm going to do a heavy coat on the inside of the iris. You have your pupil, your iris, and your sclera around the outside edge. And I usually dry these coats with a hair dryer in between colors. Now, once I'm done spraying that, I want to check and see, make sure everything's okay. Now, if you make a mistake, it's okay. You run this under water, and it all will come out, and you can clean out the inside of the eye, and you can start all over again. So don't panic if you don't get this right. But here's what it looks like to start. We're not anywhere near finished, but this is the starting process. You can start to see that it looks pretty cool, pretty stunning the first time you do this. But we got a little more work to do. What I'm doing now is painting the sclera. That's the outer edge that sets back into the, the bony plate of the eye socket. It's where the muscles and the controlling factor of the eye comes in for the fish. And I will use a brush to go around the edge, and the color I'm using, there's no particular color that I buy. I mix my own. It's a little bit of flesh color, a little bit of green and brown, and it makes a, I can't even explain it. It's kind of a very, very light sea foam color. And once again, that's species specific when it comes to the Sclera. There you can see the color. It's kind of a sage color. I'm going around the outer edge, all the way around the outer edge to create that Sclera. What I'm doing now is taking a toothpick and I'm scratching little marks and fine lines and little holes and markings that simulate what a fish's eye and the swirl of the colors are. There's so many different colors in fish's eyes. No two are the same. They're all different shades. There's certain factors that are species specific, but you just want to duplicate that. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm scratching off some of the paint so that it creates kind of a hole to the outer acrylic. And then I'm going to fill that with a different color, and it's pretty stunning. I'm going to use iridescent violet in this case because there was a lot of violet color in this particular fish, so I'm trying to mimic that. And I'm just using this with the brush, putting it on, thinning it a little bit with some water. You can use some paint reducer if you need to. And once that's done, that will fill those scratchings that I made. And then I'm going to use a pearl satin gold, which is a little different color. And I'm filling in anything else that's transparent, and it just overlaps. And here's the end result. This is what your eye looks like when it's all done. You can see the Sclera around the outer edge. You can see the iridescence. You can see the gold ring. You can see the black markings, vertical bars that are pretty much common in most all species. It's now time to set this eye. Let's take our 5-minute epoxy. Let's mix it up. You know how to do that now. Equal parts, mix it real well. You got 5 minutes. I take a toothpick, put some on the toothpick, line the inside of the eye socket that I ground away. And remember, way back, I pre-measured the eyes. Well, now I put the painted eye, and I'm going to put it in the eye socket. That's why I put them in the two separate jars. Left eye, right eye. We're going to put the right eye of the fish as though you're the fish. That's your right eye. Then I take some epoxy and I work it around any gap that might be there from the grinding process. And this replaces the tissues and the muscles that control the eye. That's all we're doing. And we're filling in that gap. And then eventually that'll all get painted and make that very believable. It sets the eye in. I'm putting it on the top. It's kind of like the eyebrow. It's over top of the Sclera. And then I'll shape that with the epoxy. And the point is, you want this to sit undisturbed. I really recommend that you do this overnight. You don't want to touch it because at this point you'll leave a fingerprint, and you don't want to leave a fingerprint over the eye. That'll kind of ruin the whole effect. And that's what you do with the eyes. And I did the same thing with the left eye. I didn't do a video of painting it. Here's the left eye. Here it is from a different angle, the left eye, and straight on. You can see the Sclera. And then, of course, the right eye. I still have touch-up painting to do around the eyes and the head and the fins before we can do our top coat. It's the top coat that really brings this fish to life, and it's starting to shape up pretty well. Here's the first top coat application. I use Krylon Pure Acrylic Sealer. I find that to give the clearest, nicest results. I lightly mist the right and the left side. You don't want to put it on too heavy so that it runs. Here's the second coat being applied. I usually find 3 coats is enough. You might need to do more, you might need to do less. It really depends. And this is the second coat on the left side of the fish. And I finished up all the painting around the eyes. And this is the final coat. On the right side, and the final coat on the left side. And I'm really happy how this fish has turned out. There you have it, painting and setting the eyes for a fish replica. In my final video for this tutorial, session number 8, I will show you how I plan to display this piece of fish art. So stop back to see the final project. Oh, before I forget, I have put this entire series in a playlist for anyone out there interested in this awesome art form. I broke it down into separate sessions. If you watch it from beginning to end, you will have a pretty good idea of how to complete a fish replica from beginning to completion. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Hey, have a great day. I'm Mr. R, and this is the Rondinelli Project. We gone!